At this point, we're about 1 week away from the trade deadline, and there have been a severe lack of confirmed sellers at the trade deadline. In the Western Conference, there have only been really one, that being the Utah Jazz. Maybe the Portland Trail Blazers might join them, maybe the New Orleans Pelicans, but up until this point I've not been that loud about it. Then in the Eastern Conference, we got a few more of them, but still only about 3 or 4 of them, that being the Washington Wizards, Charlotte Hornets, Brooklyn Nets, and maybe the Toronto Raptors, but again, between both conferences, that's only about 4 or 5. But now there might be another one joining them, that being the Atlanta Hawks, and following them losing Jalen Johnson, he's now been ruled out for the rest of the season, and ever since that happened, they have not been playing very well. They're now 3-7 during their past 10 games, currently riding a 7-game losing streak, and that's led to them rethinking their current future with this current team. And according to reports, they're definitely open to trades. They've been linked to trading a guy like Bogdanovic, according to Mark Stein. Other reports have said that they are willing and even have been trying to trade Clint Capela, maybe a guy like DeAndre Hunter, maybe Onyeka Okongwu, Larry Nance Jr., and a few more after that. So between all the reports, they could be having an outright fire sale. You know, very likely not trading Trae Young or any of their young talent for that fact, not a guy like Dyson Daniels or Zachary Richache, but apart from that, everybody else could be up for grabs. So should the Lakers look into it, we'll talk about that and break it all down. But before we get too far into it, let's go over our game day picks with Underdog Fantasy. And we're actually going to be making our Super Bowl picks, which you can make completely risk-free with their no sweat token, meaning that if you don't win your entry, you get your entire fee back in bonus credit. Then if you're a new sign-up, you can pick Travis Kelce to have higher than 0.5 receiving yards, all the way up until February 9th too. Then if you want to follow along with me, for my 2 picks, I got Saquon Barkley having higher than 1.5 receptions, then I got Patrick Mahomes throwing more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. But if you're looking to make your own picks, then be sure to check out Underdog Fantasy, and don't forget to use code JSM to get your free pick, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make a deposit. But now getting back to our topic, and again, with the Atlanta Hawks, they have plenty of players to offer, but are they all valuable and worth trading for? Maybe, maybe not, but we'll go right down the list with them. And beginning with Clint Capela, after Trae Young, he has the biggest contract on their team, making $22.2 million this season, and that would require them to trade Rui Hachimura with Jalen Hood-Schifino and one more minimum contract after that, which already is giving up quite a lot. And for a declining center like Clint Capela, now 30 years old and not having a great year, not too bad, but definitely is declining, especially on defense, this season having a negative 0.4 defensive box plus minus rating. Then to go along with it, decreased rim protection, whether you're looking at blocks per game or simply the eye test, the guy is definitely declining on defense. Offensively and rebounding is still okay, grabbing about 9 rebounds per game in 22 minutes per game, scoring 9.5 points per game, including about 3.5 offensive rebounds per game, and that's primarily where he does most of his work, getting offensive rebounds, getting putbacks, and then putting it back. But apart from that, not a ton of value with Clint Capela. And again, with what it would take to get him, trading Rui Hachimura alone, I wouldn't do that. Then having to throw in 2 minimum contracts with him, aka guys they could use in a different trade, then maybe Atlanta wanting a 2nd round draft pick, I definitely wouldn't be willing to make that trade. After him though, we have an intriguing target here, that being DeAndre Hunter, a guy they've been linked to in the past, a guy they actually technically drafted in the past, which ended up being a part of the Anthony Davis trade and therefore did not go to their team. But they do have a history with him and have been linked to him in the past. And with that, he's actually having a really good season, kind of a breakout season at 27 years old, which definitely is rare, but hey, it's good to see nonetheless. This season averaging 19.3 points per game, about 4 rebounds per game, 1.5 assists per game, shooting 46.1% from the field, and about 39% from 3. Definitely good value, and especially considering he's coming off the bench while doing it. In the 34 games that he's played this season, he's only started in 2 of them and definitely appears to be a really good fit coming off the bench. And while I currently believe that's what Rui Hachimura should be doing for their team, I'm not sure he could be doing it to quite that level. Again, Hunter averaging over 19 points per game, on near 39% 3-point shooting, that's definitely pretty good value, even for about that $21 million salary he has this season, and being under contract for 2 more years after this one. And well, you definitely could make an argument for it, trading Rui Hachimura with Jalen Hood-Schifino and a minimum contract with them. Then with draft compensation, it might get hairy after that. Should they give up a 1st round draft pick for that? Would Atlanta want to trade DeAndre Hunter, and would they take that trade package? I'm not sure I would, and I'm not sure I'd give up that much for him, but you definitely could make an argument to trade for him. He's not a bad trade target, and I think he would be a fairly good fit for their team too. After DeAndre Hunter though, we got Bogdanovic, currently making about $17.2 million this season, then with 2 years left on his contract after that one, and with the decline that he's experiencing this season, would he be a good trade target, or might it be an opportunity to buy low on him? They have been linked to him in the past, and according to some reports, take it from clutch points if you will, but they have been linked to him again. I'm not sure I truly believe it. I wouldn't put him at the top of their list, but I definitely would check in on him. Like I mentioned though, is having an underwhelming season, currently averaging only about 10 points per game on 37.1% field goal shooting and 30.1% shooting from the 3-point line. A career worst year for him, and the only season that he shot below 35%. So again, might it be a case of simply needing a different team, a different home, and he'll get back to that near 38% career 3-point shooting level, or is he actually showing decline? But should that team be the Lakers, and should they make a trade for him? Well, once again, it would require them trading Rui Hachimura, unless they would trade Gabe Vincent with Hutch Vino and a couple minimum contracts with him, and that would make it more complicated. It probably would have to be Rui Hachimura here with a minimum contract with him, and from that standpoint, I'm not sure it would be worth it. We are taking a bet on Bogdanovic getting back to that prior level, and while if he did, that would be a bit more valuable than Rui Hachimura, a way better 3-point shooter, a more explosive offensive player in general, and would be a good fit for them in that regard, I'm not sure I'd make that trade. After Bogdanovic though, we got Onyeka Okongwu, and while they could trade him, some reports have said that they might trade him or think about trading him. I don't find it very likely. With them already trying very hard to trade Clint Capela, Onyeka Okongwu will be their only center left, their only real center left, and they probably don't want to trade that away. Only being 24 years old and is showing growth and potential, this season averaging a career high 11.7 points per game, with about 8 rebounds per game, 1 block per game, shooting 55.3% from the field, showing some 3-point shooting potential, about 27%, not good, but at least taking them, not afraid to take them. I don't think they really want to trade him, and if they would trade him, it would have to be for a pretty damn good offer in return for him. And for the Lakers, even though they do need a center, I'm not sure Onyeka Okongwu would be their answer. He would fill a need for them, but in regard to what it would take to get him, likely trading either Rui Hachimura or Gabe Vincent with minimum contracts with them, and probably about a first-round draft pick with Gabe Vincent, multiple second-round draft picks with Rui Hachimura, I'm not sure that'll be worth it, and not really a trade I'd be looking to make here. After him though, we got former Laker Larry Nance Jr., and while he is a bit older now being 32, there definitely is still value to be had with him, and for a guy that can play at both center and power forward, providing value on both offense and defense, maybe not the best in any one thing, but can do a whole bunch of things on the court. Currently averaging about 8.5 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, 1.5 assists per game, about 1 steal and 1 block per game, shooting 50.9% for the field, 45% from 3, on 3.3 attempts per game in only about 19 minutes per game, aka 6.2 of them per 36 minutes, and there are not very many small ball centers that can do that for you. And all around providing value on both ends of the court, being a decent rim protector, especially for a 6'8" guy, a switchable defender, often finishing games for his teams, and often more than their traditional bigs, so you can have value with that. I think he'd be a good fit with Anthony Davis on the court. They both provide some rim protection, some switchability on defense, and then with Larry Nance offering some 3-point shooting too. The only problem here being what it would take to get him. No, not in regard to assets or overall value, but it would take Gabe Vincent, and that's one of their only primary ball handlers behind LeBron and Austin Reeves. If they'd be giving up a point guard, they need a point guard in return, and Atlanta doesn't really have one to offer them, and not one they can include with Larry Nance Jr. through a trade. So if they would make that trade, they'd then have to trade for another point guard or find one off the buyout market or simply on the open market, and that'd be opening up another need for their team despite kind of filling a current need, so not really going anywhere with that one. Don't get me wrong, I think it'd help their front court. Larry Nance definitely can fill in at center, he can be a good option for them. I think he'd be an upgrade over what they currently have with Jackson Hayes, Christian Koloko, Trey Jemison, and the ever forgotten about Christian Wood. I think he'd be better and more reliable than all of them, and in that regard it might be worth it. But when you're trading for one need but then opening up another need, it's not overall a good trade to make, and then with Gabe Vincent playing pretty well throughout the past 2 months, he's not a guy I'd love to trade for Larry Nance Jr. Providing that value on both ends of the court, being a good point of attack defender, being a solid 3-point shooter lately, and again one of their only ball handlers behind LeBron and Austin Reeves, he might not be a guy that they'd want to make this trade with. And after Larry Nance Jr., about the only trade target left would be a guy like Garrison Matthews, who I definitely do like. I've mentioned him probably every year for about 3 years now, but only a minimum contract guy. is shooting 39.4% from beyond the arc on 4.8 attempts per game in only 18 minutes per game. Very high volume shooting, about 9.4 attempts per 36 minutes. And yeah, definitely open to be trading a guy like Cam Reddish for him, but not really a big trade to make and not a huge one to point out here. The overall big targets again would be either a guy like Clint Capela, who I definitely wouldn't trade for with that salary, DeAndre Hunter, who I would think about trading for, but depending on the trade package, Bogdanovic, currently having an underwhelming season, but might be a good buy low trade target depending on what they want for him. Onyeka Okongwu, I don't really think he's available. Then Larry Nance Jr. Maybe a good trade target, but maybe not depending on what they'd offered for him and having to give up a ball handler like Gabe Vincent for him. With that being said though, what do you guys think? How would you feel about a trade with the Atlanta Hawks and what they might be able to offer them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.